Good morning, this is Kyle Madson with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Sacramento Kings kicked off their road trip with a 122-105 thumping of the Phoenix Suns. The Kings jumped out to a 36-9 lead after the first quarter and never looked back. They're off tonight and tomorrow. They'll be back in action Friday in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. We finally got some answers on 76ers guard Markelle Fultz. His agent and the 76ers announced yesterday that the 2017 number 1 overall pick has thoracic outlet syndrome. That's a shoulder ailment that affects nerves near the neck and shoulder and limits range of motion in those areas. He's expected to miss 3 to 6 weeks as he rehabilitates that shoulder. It's 8:04. Peak Financial wants to talk retirement. Dial pound 250 and say the word money. Those are your top stories. Now time for the third hour of the drive on Sports 1140 KSGK.
Money.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead.
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what?
Everybody, listen up.
Welcome to The Drive.
Morning.
You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
Scott Bair will join us at 8:05. Looking at tomorrow's show, looking ahead there, big show for ye. At 7:35, Grant Napier will join us from Cleveland. Sam Amick at 8:05. Scott Moak will come on with me at 8:50 to announce the next Do One Thing Challenge, partner up with the Sac Republic. That'll be fun.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
Is that the thing I texted you about a couple weeks ago?
Which thing?
And you said there's going to be more info coming out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Kyle. Glad we could handle that one. Yes. About your mom? For real? Wow, that's really bad. But, yeah, right.
The thing I texted you about my mom?
About your mom, okay. It's actually true.
That was a good mom joke, but like it was actually
grounded in
like
truth.
yeah.
Jiffy Lube sponsors our text line
Text about your mom.
from the 707. Carmichael, Dave, you are an idiot. Worst fan ever. Worse. I'm the worst fan ever.
You are an idiot.
Is there an award? Can I get a jacket for being the worst Kings fan ever?
I think a black shirt with worst fan ever in purple letters would be wonderful.
All right, well, since I'm angering Kings fans.
Ooh, nice. Let's drop hot Kings takes.
Before we get to Scott Barrett, I'm going to anger some Kings fans more. Hey, Kyle, it's been 2 hours. What do you say we talk a little Marvin Bagley and Luka Doncic?
Smart.
Ready?
We haven't done that in a hot minute. Did you see that the Mavericks beat the Trailblazers last night?
Saw that. Did you see that Luka step back three?
Hit the dagger step back three, and he had a team high 21 points for the Mavericks.
How have people not figured out that the more you get on me for something, just the more I'm going to just purely troll you? And I have a radio show that I can troll you with too. So it's a D-bag move.
It's a real jerk move.
Worst fan ever. But
you're an idiot.
Let me flip the script. Calm down, everybody. Let me give you some per 36 numbers for those of you who think we're all Luka stans here. Per 36, because Marvin Bagley has not been playing the minutes that Luka has. Everybody goes out there and they look at these great Luka high. Oh, look, there's a step back three. Oh my gosh, there's an amazing pass. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Fine.
Highlights are neat.
Yep.
Highlights are really cool. But in the case of the Mavericks and the Kings, you have two teams that have completely changed their fortunes from last year to this year. Per 36, I'm going to read Marvin Bagley first, and I'm going to read Luka Doncic second. And this might surprise you a little bit. Points per game. Marvin Bagley, 19.3. Luka Doncic, an even 20. Ooh.
That's per 36.
Per 36. How about turnovers? Marvin Bagley, 2.8. Luka Doncic, 4.1.
Ooh, point Bagley.
Blocks. Marvin Bagley, 1.8. Luka Doncic, 0.4.
Boom. Point.
Steals
Bagley.
and assists you got to give to Doncic. 0.7 on steals for Bagley. 1.2 for Doncic. Not a huge thing, but almost double the steals. Assists, that's the big difference. 1.3 for Bagley. 4.6.
Different positions.
For Doncic.
Hit him with rebounds.
How about that?
Hit me with rebounds.
Per 36, Marvin Bagley, 10.2 rebounds. Luka Doncic, 7.1.
Boom.
It's like he's not even
That's
trying.
like 3 additional possessions.
Doncic shoots better from the free throw line, 79% to 65%. Why don't we take a look at field goal percentage? 51% Marvin Bagley, 44.3% for Luka Doncic.
That's a 7% difference.
That's fairly big. I like having fun with Kings fans because there's such a sensitivity about it. But let's peel back the curtain for a second.
Those names and
they just go for
black out.
Marvin Bagley is having a very good rookie season.
He's a good player.
May I remind you, though they're basically the same age, Luka Doncic has been playing professional basketball against grown men since he was 16 years old. Marvin Bagley was supposed to be in high school last year and skipped and went to college and played a year. He should be a freshman at Duke this season. The biggest difference between Marvin Bagley and Luka Doncic as far as overall play to me is minutes played.
And their rapping ability.
Marvin Bagley, a much better rapper as well. Marvin Bagley, a far better rapper. So peeling back the curtain, taking the troll away, and just being a real person here for a second, don't get so triggered about that. Marvin Bagley is going to be just fine. And that's what's really frustrating about that back injury. Is it looked like he was really getting in a groove, and I can't speak for Coach Yeager or that staff, and I've grown to trust their rotations. I don't get on them as much as I used to. I do feel like there's a method to the madness, even if I don't agree with it. But it did seem like Marvin Bagley was very much moving towards starting, and I think that my guess is Marvin Bagley is going to be starting for this team by the first of the year. That's fine. Indoctrinate him. Bring him in slow. Oh, by the way, overall, Kings are 12-11, Mavericks are 12-10. And really, isn't that the most important stat? So, Luka Doncic can be a great player, and Marvin Bagley can be a great player. It's the wins and losses that matter the most. Let's move to football real quick. You're Oakland Raiders. I saw a stat. There was an article I read that was talking about every team is good at something. So the Oakland Raiders, I think, are number 1 in the NFL or number 2 in batted passes. So you got that going for you. What else you had going for you, too, was a nice rivalry game at the old O.co. And I thought the Raiders acquitted themselves quite well. I thought there was quite a bit of heart, and we talked about that towards the end of the game against one of the, if not the best team in all of football, the Kansas City Chiefs. And though they lost 40-33, 17-7 in that fourth quarter, they didn't roll over and die. And we're going to talk about that right now from NBC Sports California, our good friend who appears each and every Wednesday at 8:05, Scott Bair. Good morning, Scott.
How's it going?
It's good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just checked the NBA.com standings list yesterday, and the purple and gray are above 500, like 22 games into this thing. It's been kind of impressive to watch from afar. I don't claim to be a Kings fan, but that kid, De'Aaron Fox, is faster than a sprinter. It's a fun team to watch. Yeah,
it is. We've been big win last night in Phoenix. It's a young team that seems to be turning it around, which is great for Sacramento. Can't necessarily say the same thing for Oakland this year.
True.
But Scott, we kind of knew this after the Khalil Mack trade, and then got to know it a little bit more as the weeks passed by. But I don't want to try to be condescending moral victory guy here. If you'd have told me it would be 40-33 before they played the game, I would have thought you were lying. I thought the Raiders showed a little bit of heart.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately that in itself is a step forward, considering you and I have had conversations like this every week, and you go back about 5 weeks and play the tape, and we were talking about whether this team had quit on John Gruden or not. And the answer was maybe. Probably. It sure seems so. And now the script has kind of flipped. He seems to have these guys kind of going in the right direction, at least in terms of effort, and maybe some slight improvements in execution where that's humanly possible, considering the dearth of talent. And I think, number one, you look at the quarterback, and it's funny because he gets criticized so much that he takes flack for going 7 games without throwing a pick, because they just go, wow, he's Captain Checkdown. Everybody can throw the ball 3 feet and count it as a completion. That's the easiest thing to do ever. But he also was 5 for 8 for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns, and balls thrown farther than 10 yards in the air. So, and he's showing restraint times where he's got to throw the ball away, even though it looks sort of enticing. I think that all of those things are strides for a quarterback making a lot of money that deep down the Raiders do want to succeed and continue on as their guy.
Scott Bair with us from NBC Sports California, and we'll get to how you can read Scott here in just a second. Scott, we have a segment we do every day called Four Down Territory, which is just kind of a way to clean up some various football questions. One of the questions, I think this is Monday or Tuesday, was if you could take a quarterback on a bad team and put him on a team with offensive weapons, a great offensive line, et cetera, who do you think would have the biggest difference in numbers? And I said I'd put Derek Carr in there. Certainly there's other candidates. Love to see, what if you put Derek Carr for a year in the Saints system, the Chiefs system, the Rams system? And I'm going to ask you, am I giving him too much credit? People kill this guy. I still think he's a very good quarterback with some obvious issues, but quite frankly, he's just having a lot of issues with the talent or lack thereof surrounding him. Am I giving him too much credit?
No, because you just looked at 2016 when they had, maybe he's not the sexy Matt Nagy sort of a 22-year-old offensive coordinator, Sean McVay type, but Bill Musgrave had that offense humming, and they had an offensive line they paid a bunch for, and they had they had 2,000-yard receivers, and they had a running back that was turning out touchdowns like to the clip of one per game. So that is an example of what this player can do in that current situation. And yes, there was an injury there, and people think that he's psychologically damaged from breaking his ankle, and I'm sure it didn't feel good when it broke on the field, but I don't think 2 years down the road he's still impacted. So I think that is an example of what he can do with better talent. I think that's always a fascinating question, because quarterbacks drafted in the first round, especially in the first 2 rounds in general, they get absolutely killed if things don't go exactly right, because the investment is so extreme and all those other types of things. And you wonder, guys, I'm going to date myself, but you go back to Tim Couch or Achilles Smith, right? Those guys weren't drafted in the first round because they couldn't throw it farther than their own feet, right? That there's a lot of natural talent drafted that gets stuck with a terrible coach or a terrible supporting cast, and their psyche gets all messed up, i.e. David Carr, right, who got drafted by an expansion team. So there's talent, and it is a rare combination of finding the perfect chemistry between what that quarterback's personality and ego needs and the general manager and the coach that can deliver it, right? And I think it's very rare that you find a guy that gets put in a bad situation, gets zero help, and magically turns into Peyton Manning, right? Even Peyton Manning got some help. So I think that it's easy to judge coaches and quarterbacks only on record, and at times I think that is unfair. I can say that because Derek Carr is obviously drifting well below 500 at this point now from a records perspective. I still think he can be a good quarterback for the Raiders, or if John Gruden gets impatient, for the Jaguars or some other team.
Scott, we talked a little bit last week about trying to kind of find some angles with this team and things to watch and things to talk about. We were talking with Matt Barrows yesterday about some of the young guys who have kind of broken out for the 49ers. Are there any young guys breaking out for the Raiders that you're seeing over these last few weeks and going into the end of the year that you're going, man, that guy's going to be a difference maker in 2019? That's a foundational piece they can build around?
Yeah, and it's funny because both the guys I'm going to mention were on the trading block like 5 weeks ago, right? Like they were willing to ship. True. Everything must go. No, but they were trying to ship Gary Conley and Carl Joseph a couple weeks ago, right? And they didn't get the freight that they wanted. But you look back at the past month, and I wish I had all the numbers directly in front of me, but Gary Conley's completion percentage over the last 3 weeks is no joke, like 15%. And his quarterback rating against is like 66. And his Achilles heel, and I talked to him about this last week and wrote a story on it Saturday on the website. Do a Google search. He was pretty candid about what he stinks at, and his open field tackling has cost his team some big plays, and teams are running at him, and he's working at shoring those things up, and maybe why his tackling isn't as good. Going to a lot of depth there. I think he can be a real foundational piece. I think when you look at the secondary as a whole, Carl Joseph, who was drafted in the first round, and again, they were trying to move him, and you look at it, and you're like, he's too small to cover Travis Kelce, and maybe he's not grasping the system for what a safety likes to do. Well, Paul Gunther, someone who I greatly respect in terms of his football acumen, carved out a role for Carl Joseph that makes him like a in-the-box, old-school hitman sort of a thing. And he's found, and I say that with homage to George Atkinson, of course, but he's found a way and a niche to make this kid work. And I think that he can work. So you got Conley, and you got Darryl Worley, and you got Nick Nelson, who had a rough game but is still pretty good. All those guys, the oldest guy there is a third-year player, right? And you have Carl Joseph. And if you go out and you spend money on a rangy free safety, an Earl Thomas type, I'm not saying him, but an Earl Thomas type, then you look back at those three guys and you're like, wow, they got a secondary, man. And then you go to NBCSportsBayArea.com and you read a story that was just posted about, man, they need a lot of edge rushers in free agency in the draft, and you say, wow, maybe they go get Trey Flowers or, spend $1 billion on Jadeveon Clowney, and then you draft Nick Bosa, and all of a sudden you think, man, this defense isn't so bad. And it's because of those foundational pieces, right? If Conley works out and Joseph works out and Maurice Hurst works out, and you can fill and plug and play around them and tear the linebackers to absolute shreds and build it from scratch, you might have yourself a defense.
Well, and you talk about that in your article this week at NBCSports.com, where you're updating each week on the NFL draft. The Raiders looking for edge rushers in free agency, and you mentioned Bosa and a few other guys that are available. Ed Oliver's not an edge rusher, but an absolute, as you say, elite talent coming out of Houston. So we talked about Derek Carr at the start of this conversation. Let's say John Gruden and friends agree with you, and they decide to go defense heavy, edge rush heavy. Can't imagine why they need an edge rusher, by the way. What do we do for Derek Carr? What do we do to help Derek Carr out for next year?
Yeah, at this point, maybe you drafted the left tackle that you believe can be your guy of the future. Maybe you come in and you look yourself in the mirror and you say, I hope Brandon Parker is the guy, but we need something more secure on the right, whether it's keeping Donald Penn or doing something else. You need to help him anchor that offensive line. When he has time, he's pretty darn good, Derek Carr is, and he's got to have some receivers. I mean, you look at it now, and God bless Jordy Nelson, a fantastic human who had 90 yards receiving last year, and the veteran savvy and all that. Derek Carr in this offense, they need tangible, raw offensive skill. They need speed, man. They need guys who can turn in yards after the catch. I talked about that linebacker core. You got to revolutionize it. You have to start from scratch there. I think wide receiver is another one of those things. And I did a shameless plug number 3.
Yeah.
I did a podcast with Daniel Jeremiah a couple weeks ago, and we were talking NFL draft. And he said edge rusher top priority. Those guys, premium player, first round. But wide receivers, you can get good quality in the third round. Maybe you can. Right? I wouldn't doubt that. He's the guru. I am not. But my thought is this, is that if we're talking about positions where there is absolutely zero talent here long-term and you have got to get better, receiver is another one of those. And go get a Terrell Owens clone out of Mississippi, right? Like, go find, I can't think of his name, that's why I just used his college. Go get the biggest, fastest, meanest guy who will win at the line of scrimmage. Go get that guy. Go get some immediate help. I'm all fired up today, guys. I've had 3 cups of coffee already. But go get those guys. So Oakland and Sacramento and Santa Rosa fans don't have to sit through the disaster that has been this. That maybe they can go from 2-14 to a respectable number. And you can do that by drafting premium positions where you are absolutely screwed right now and try to make it better fast.
6'1", 230 pounds. A.J. Brown out of Mississippi, I think is who you were referring to. Skipping his senior season. He announced that yesterday. He'll enter this spring's NFL draft. And final thing on that, because we get this question each and every week. We're mentioning edge rushers and going out and getting, edge. You mentioned edge rusher and you mentioned wide receiver. And Raider fans, I'm sure, are kicking and screaming listening to that, going, Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. But that's what they've chosen to do. Scott, are we not going to know the answer really as to whether or not grabbing those picks for Mack and Cooper are going to be worth it for, 3-4 years? Or are you ready to make a decision right now?
I think the Mack trade, I think on September 1st, about 2 minutes after it was over, I made my decision there. That I didn't like it and I'll never like it. And that's just the way it's going to be. You trade guys who health willing should be fitted for gold jackets. You just don't do it. Man, I'm sorry that you just don't. And I know that there are examples out there. Whether it's the Ricky Williams trade, right, or Herschel Walker, or some of these other trades that reap significant draft hauls, and maybe you can point to something better in the future and all that. But again, I'm just not of the opinion that you trade players of that magnitude, and you sure as holy heck don't give them a second-round pick back. I don't need to go into the math like I did last week, but nonetheless, I've made my choice there. And I've also made my choice on Amari Cooper. And I think that there's going to be some conspiracy theories out there, and I'm sure that the Raiders don't like Joel Siegel, and who represents both of those guys.
Right.
He goes for top dollar for his guy and all those other types of things. Well, Khalil Mack absolutely deserved top dollar. Amari Cooper sort of didn't deserve where that market was heading. Again, I keep using the Sammy Watkins example, but maybe you fleece them there, even if that first-round pick falls to 25. And I get asked this a lot. I'm sure that you guys do too. That you hear, well, the top needs are edge rusher and wide receiver, and you just let two of those guys go. Right? Sure, you did, but you also exchanged. I don't know, off the top of my head, you're exchanging $35 million in salary cap flexibility. Now, are you going to get Mack and Cooper? Probably not, but maybe you can rework that money into a more complete team. I'm not being a John Gruden apologist. I'm just trying to explain the situation as it is right now. So you could go out, and it's going to frustrate people if they spend $14 million a year on Brandon Graham, or they go nuts and they spend $15 million on Jadeveon Clowney. They're going to be like, $5 more million, and we could have had Mack, right? But that's the situation that they're in. I don't think that they're afraid to spend money. I honestly don't, and I think that we could see a big deal for a veteran edge rusher to kind of fix what the disaster that this defense was. But that's their mental math right now, and at times I think it's faulty. At times I think it isn't.
Scott Bair joining us from NBC Sports California. You can read all of his fine work, including his recommendation the Raiders should look for edge rushers in free agency. He always looks ahead to the draft to, let's be honest, that's what a lot of Raider fans are looking ahead to as well. We always appreciate your analysis. We always appreciate your insight, Scott. We will talk to you this time next Wednesday, my friend.
Thank you, gentlemen. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Scott Bair, NBC Sports California. We will take a break. When we come back, final half hour of the program, Kyle's Cold Hard Facts, right after this word from Capital Casino on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Hey, this is Kyle Madson with your top stories. Not my top stories, are yours on Sports 1140. The Sacramento Kings kicked off their road trip with a resounding 122-105 victory over the Phoenix Suns. The Kings are now off tonight and tomorrow. They won't be back in action until Friday in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. And the 76ers announced yesterday that Markelle Fultz has thoracic outlet syndrome. That's a shoulder ailment that affects nerves near the neck and shoulder and limits range of motion. The 2017 number 1 overall pick is expected to miss 3 to 6 weeks. It's 8:32. Peak Financial wants to talk retirement. Dial pound 250 and say the word money. Those are your top stories. Now back to the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Here we go. The drive continues now.
Final half hour of the program. We appreciate, as always, you tuning in. Grant Napier at 7:35. Sam Amick at 8:05. Scott Moak at 8:50. Coming up tomorrow. Won't want to miss all of that. Our video cast brought to you by Jiffy Lube and Sac Republic. We love them. They love us. We appreciate that. We hope they love us. Check out the videocast at KHTK.com. If you're on a laptop or desktop, right at the top of the page, towards the middle of the page, if you are on a phone or tablet. I can tell people are watching because during the Scott Bair interview, I crumpled up a piece of paper and tried to throw it across the room into a recycling bin. And people were making fun of my motion. Don't appreciate it. I'm going to go to DeAndre Jordan's free throw coach.
Nice, dude.
Learn from him. You got some cold hard facts?
Yeah, well, I have some facts. Hang on one second. Ooh, Bair. And real quick.
So
Yep.
they're not warm, soft facts.
No, they're cold and hard, and they are definitely facts.
Okay, let's play the voice guy real quick.
It's time for the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact of the Day. Here's Kyle Madson.
That's you, Kyle
Hey,
Madson.
thanks, voice guy.
Thank you. To you at the cold hard fact desk.
So I got a couple stats, and then I've got some fun on this days.
Oh, fun on this days is great.
This is via Elias. All 13 players who appeared for the Jazz had a point, rebound, and assist last night.
Wow.
It's the second game in NBA history in which 13-plus players had a point, rebound, and assist for a team. On March 14, 2014, all 13 players who appeared for the Spurs did this against the Lakers.
From Elias,
Yes.
the hockey fan in me thinks it's pronounced Eliash.
Huh.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, Elias Sports Bureau sent that one out. Speaking of the Spurs, we mentioned this earlier. They lost by 30 points last night.
Yeah.
The third time they've done it this week. The Spurs lost by more than 30 points
Whoa.
5 times in Greg Popovich's first 1,758 regular season games as a coach.
1,758 games.
1,758 games. They lost by 30 plus 5 times.
And they've lost by 30 plus how many times this week?
3.
That's insane.
Happened 3 times in the last 4 games.
That's
via
insane.
Tim Reynolds of the AP.
We're going to need to talk at some point. We talked about this over the summer, that this might be Greg Popovich's last year, and that is not a story right now, but that may very well be a story. A lot of rumors with the tragedy he suffered last year with his wife, the fact that he's been doing it for a long time. They're obviously going into a rebuild, and also thoughts that he may want to focus on USA basketball.
Yep.
This may be Greg Popovich's last year, and that's going to be something we're going to talk a lot about in March and April.
I think so.
Cold hard fact.
Wanted to make sure I had this right. 2-year anniversary of Klay Thompson scoring 60 points in 29 minutes against the Pacers. Sorry. Anyways, here's a cold hard fact for you. The Sacramento Kings are 12-11. They're only a half game back of the Blazers for the 8th seed in the West. That's just a fact.
That is a fact.
I just wanted to spit that out.
I appreciate that.
Especially considering the Blazers were like at the top of the West like last week.
They got throttled by Dallas last night in
Luka
Texas.
Doncic.
Hey!
All right, some fun on this date.
Fun on this date.
On this date in 1974, arguably the worst day in sports history. I'll tell you why. It's the day the Seattle Seahawks were formed.
Oh, God, yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
In 1978, on this day, December 5th, 1978, Pete Rose signed a 4-year, $32 million deal.
What?
Why is that important?
Why is that important, Kyle?
Because at the time, he was the highest paid baseball player ever.
That's pretty insane, actually. What was the deal again?
4 years, $32 million. He was getting $8 million a year and was the highest paid player in the league.
That's. I mean, listen, it's a good amount of money, and it's funny you say that. Can I piggyback on your cold hard fact?
Please.
I have here. This caught my eye yesterday. The salaries for the world champion 1996 Yankees. Would you like to take a guess as to? I mean, this is going way back for you.
Okay.
Would you like to take a guess as who the highest paid player was?
In 96.
96, New York Yankees, World Championship.
Was it Clemens?
Roger Clemens was not on the team.
In 96?
96, no Clemens.
Oh, he was in Toronto, huh?
Yeah, duh, everyone knows that.
Okay. 96, hang on. Wait for it.
Yeah.
Bernie Williams.
Bernie Williams, $3 million. He was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th.
Okay. Jeter.
Derek Jeter made a whopping $130,000.
Yeah, because he was on his rookie deal still.
And just to help there, Andy Pettitte made $195,000. Mariano Rivera $131,000. Jorge Posada $109,000. I'm going to help you out.
Tino Martinez. Scott Brocious.
Tino Martinez was 8th at $2.3 million, just behind Joe Girardi at $2.32
Is it
million.
a pitcher?
It is not a pitcher. The highest paid pitcher on the team was third at $5 million. That was noted country star Kenny Rogers, just ahead of David Cohn at $4.6 million.
David Cohn was going to be my guess.
David Cohn was fourth. John Wetland was fifth.
Chuck Knobloch.
Chuck Knobloch was not on that team.
I got nothing.
Number 2, Paul O'Neill at $5.3 million. And the highest paid player on the 1996 world champion New York Yankees, making far more than Bernie Williams, Andy Pettit, Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, and Jorge Posada combined. Ruben Sierra.
Oh, my Lanta.
$6.2 million.
I think I could have realistically guessed if we spent the rest of our shows just me guessing baseball players.
Like all the shows?
Yeah,
like
we just start now, and then at 9 o'clock I'm done.
And then you start again
we
tomorrow.
Come back
6.
tomorrow. I think I would have gone into next. No, I'm not. I think I would have gone into like mid-January.
By the way, what did you say Pete Rose's contract was?
4 years, $32 million.
We sure it's not 4 years, $3.2 million? Doesn't that seem a little high that Pete Rose in what year would sign an $8 million a year contract? I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. But I think $8 million seems really high for Pete Rose per annum. And if I'm wrong, I apologize.
I'm looking.
Are you looking? What year was it? Did it say what year it was?
74.
It was not $32 million.
Sorry, 78.
78. No.
Okay, so maybe I missed a decimal.
It's okay.
3.2 million.
3.2 million. I just like it when you do that because I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I prefer it when you get mad.
I get angry,
You
dude.
get really
I'm
angry.
so mad.
It happens.
I won't get into it.
Cold hard fact number 4.
Whatever this is. The first ever, I'm going out of chronological order because the last one is the most interesting one.
Sure.
The first ever SEC championship game took place on this day in 1992.
SEC football championship, obviously.
Yep.
Okay. 92. Do you have the?
I do.
Okay.
I have the teams, their rankings, and the score.
Oh God.
Although I'm confirming that I have it correct.
I don't know. I'm gonna cop out and say like Alabama and Texas A&M. No, Texas and Alabama. No, Texas isn't in the SEC. Another Alabama. Oh God, I don't know. Who is it?
So the site I was on definitely says 32 million.
Okay.
So maybe they have it wrong.
Okay. What do you, if you had to guess?
I would guess
3.2, right? 4 years, 3.2.
Yeah, I would guess
Yeah.
4 years, 3.2. Number 2 Alabama beat number 12 Florida 28-21.
Florida. I got Alabama right, but I'm not even giving myself credit for that. It's
Yeah,
Alabama.
they've been in every SEC championship game ever
in the world.
In 1984, on December 5th, 1984, last cold hard fact. The A's traded outfielder Ricky Henderson to the Yankees for Jay Howell and Jose Rio.
Great trade.
That's all-star Jay Howell.
Yes, it was.
He got booed at the 1988 All-Star game that took place in Oakland. He was Oakland's closer.
I was there.
Liar.
I was not there. Is that our cold hard facts?
Yeah.
Cold hard facts brought to you by Coors Light. Well done.
Thank you.
Real quick, we got to leave here in a second, right?
Yeah.
You got to read?
I do.
Okay. Before you get to that read, I want to tell you something. Did I tell you, by the way, when I came in here, I was reading a book about anti-gravity?
No. Hey, Eunice, make sure the camera's on me because I'm about to sink this behind the back shot into the garbage can. Keep going.
I'm reading a book now about anti-gravity. Let me tell you, Kyle, it's impossible to put down.
I'm upset that you said that.
How'd the picture end up in jail, Kyle? It was framed.
It was framed, yeah. I knew it.
My ex-wife still misses me.
Okay, stop.
But her aim is starting to improve.
I know.
You know why I'm doing this?
You know,
because of all your Twitter friends that are killing me with puns. How does it feel?
Those aren't really puns. Those are just jokes.
No.
The frame one was a good pun.
What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo? One's really heavy and the other's a little lighter.
Yeah, okay. Hey, it's 8:43. Time to call Sierra Pacific to get up to $1,600 off a new Lennox furnace. Keep your home cozy and warm this winter. 800-551-3040. or SierraPacificHome.com. Hey, Dave.
Hey.
What Sierra is that?
You tell me.
Sierra Pacific.
Thank you. We'll take a break. It's not Sierra Atlantic.
Nope.
All right, Sierra Pacific.
Yep.
The good ocean. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take that,
Yeah.
Atlantic Ocean. We're coming back with What's on Tap right here on Sports 1140 KHTK.
It's the end of the show, but it's the start of your workday. Pour a cold one. It's What's on Tap. Here's What's on Tap.
One day, Jason, our engineer, is going to do his little bit where he hides under the desk. I come back in after a break, and he jumps up and screams bloody murder, which he just did. And it was especially hardcore because I was looking down at my phone. He's going to do that, and I'm going to have a heart attack. And if you're watching on the video right now, I'm going to have a heart attack. And guess what, Jason? You're going to have to fill in for the rest of the shift, all 11 minutes. God, I still can't catch my breath. He got me, and I don't even like telling him he got me. He got me bad, dude. Like, I'm sweating.
I'm definitely a guy that when I get scared, I'm like, oh, no, I was just looking at something.
I usually am, but there was no way for me to recover from that.
When he went in there, because he was like, I'm going to scare Dave.
And where are you with the warning?
I was filming.
You filmed that?
I didn't get anything. You were out of my line of sight here.
What's on tap?
But he comes in and he goes, I'm gonna scare Dave. Well, he went in there and he ducked down, and I thought he was gonna like unplug something to make something not work.
No, he would never alter. He would never do that. He'd never mess with his equipment.
You doing okay?
You want to scare me? Make the IFB button work.
He said it does.
He's right. It actually does, and it actually.
We haven't had any
only
problems
took him
with it,
3
so
months to do
it
it. So good for him. What's on tap? Brought to you by. I got my own sponsor. Brought to you by those paddles that they zap you with when your heart stops.
Yeah.
How many lives has that saved? I don't know, but a lot probably. Defibrillators. That's what they're called.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. Probably should put one in here.
Hang on, I'm gonna make a Dave joke. Are there any fibrillators?
That's pretty funny. Why'd the cat go to the vet? Because he was feeling fine. Yeah, guess what, Kyle?
Hey, I've actually wondered this. So there's such thing as cat wine.
What?
It's like wine that you give cats. I don't know. That's way above my level of crazy cat person. But how they didn't call that fee wine is beyond me.
Wine that you give a cat?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's just like colored water with like a little catnip in it.
This goes more to my theory of why cats are worse than dogs.
Okay.
By the way, I was watching one of those military reunion videos that always make me cry when a soldier, service member will come home and meet their family. But it was a
those get me, by the way, 100% of the time.
100% of the time.
It doesn't matter what mood I'm in.
Military member sneaks up on kids' school, pops out of we're about to see a bunch of them pop out of a big oversized present for Christmas. All of them. Sometimes I will avoid watching those. If I see it come up on my timeline, I'll save it for later. I won't watch them in public because I will cry 100% of the time. So there was this one, and it was a medley of dogs being reunited with their owners and just freaking out and jumping up on them and licking them. You know what I've never seen is a medley of cat reunification videos with their owners. You know why? Because there aren't any. Because you know what the cat will do?
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
The cat will meow a bunch, and like maybe if you're lucky, you'll get the cat rub up on the leg
that's how they
once,
show affection.
And then you know what's next? Tail in the air, butthole, feed me. That's a cat reunion. Has Mitch really been holding for, oh my God, an hour and 16 minutes?
Mitch is a legend, dude.
Mitch, I love you, buddy. Hey, how are you?
How you guys doing? Happy holidays?
Mitch, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you on there. Kyle refused to tell me you were on hold, so blame
That's
him.
untrue. That's
Kyle,
not true. He has
Kyle,
a screen where he can see who's on hold.
I asked Kyle, I said, is anybody on hold? He said no.
That's a lie. Don't let him lie to you, Mitch.
Mitch, the floor is yours.
Not a problem. I'm only 5'6", so I'm hard to see.
That's a good point.
Kings, I wish I had more of a killer instinct. I was hoping the game would be like 150 to 40. I mean, how bad can you be in the first quarter? It's like you must have making an effort to not be decent.
Right.
And they have some talent. They have some talent too, but they miss Booker in the center. Giles kind of reminds me of Jay Giles' band, music. He should be playing more. Maybe he will win the job over Bagley. You know, don't be out too long, Bagley. You got to remember Joe Flacco. He lost his job to Lamar Jackson. Maybe we have the same situation. Make a trade. I didn't get into the playoffs this year. And one more thing. Ben McLemore, he kind of like Fultz, and you were talking about Fultz a lot. I think Fultz, down and right, is a lemon. That's all he is. He's a lemon. Top pick, and they're going to pay for it for years.
Yeah, that's a tough pick, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Mitch is the man.
Thank you, Mitch. He makes a great point. Harry Giles, like the Jay Giles band.
Yep.
Jay Giles and their hit Centrafold. Angle is a centerfold. Remember that?
Yes.
Definitely. Angle is a centerfold.
Yep. Big time.
Harry Giles band. Thank you, Mitch.
Hey.
Yeah, what?
I have to let you know something.
Please, I've been waiting all day.
Like it's a need. It's not. This is I need to let you know this. Mm-hmm. You check that. You need to know this. It's time to call Sierra Pacific because you can get up to $1,600 off a new Lennox furnace. Keep your home not just cozy, not just warm, but cozy and warm this winter. 800-551-3040 or SierraPacificHome.com.
Hey, Kyle, what's that? What's Sierra?
Sierra Pacific.
That's a good one.
What's on tap tonight? Brought to you by Defibrillators. Your Warriors are going to take on the Cavaliers tonight, Kyle. That's a 4 p.m. start.
That's a finals rematch.
You know it is.
Did you see Klay Thompson's quote yesterday?
Yeah. What did that Halloween party got you? Got you 1-8, idiots.
He said, Psh, bums.
Klay Thompson.
Would that pettiness get you? 1-8 in the finals.
Future King
Idiots.
Klay Thompson is a legend.
He's an icon, dude. I know people who despise the Warriors, like don't talk to me about the Warriors, don't even bring them up. Love Klay Thompson.
He's a Clay-con.
He's a Clay-con.
Clay-con.
Like,
Icon. Clay Icon. Clay Icon, the second place American Idol guy.
yeah, that's him.
I'm seeing things on my Twitter handle, and I don't know what the source is. But Rob Manfred apparently said something about being open to banning the shift in baseball.
Gross.
That there is nothing that will pit millennials versus old heads more than Rob Manfred banning the shift in baseball.
I will have facts for you on that and why that's stupid and why old heads aren't old heads. They're just dumb.
Will the facts you have for me, will they be soft? Will they be warm?
Oh, they're going to be hot fire. Those won't be a cold fact. That needs to be just a fire take.
Hot fire fact?
Old head.
From the 916, I watched one of those reunion videos with service members and their pets. It was all dogs till the very last one was a cat. Cat just walked by the service member like she wasn't even there. There you go. It's a cat.
Sorry, I don't need validation from an animal.
From the 209, would anybody ever be mad if cats became extinct?
I'd be pretty bummed.
Great question. Eunice did a great job, as always, staying out of the frame, being a professional, unlike Kyle Madson and unlike myself. Want to thank all of you, including Scott Bair, our guest. Big show tomorrow. We'll be back at 6 a.m. Jim Rome is next, followed by The Lowdown. Enjoy the rest of your broadcast day on Sports 1140 KHTK. Bye-bye.